You should go home to Greenbow, Alabama. You should go home to Greenbow, Alabama.
All right, Forrest, we got it the first time. We got it the first time. So I had to kind of open this, that famous clip of Tom Hanks acting as Forrest Gump and saying that line of going back to Greenbow, Alabama. This is the first unboxing. This is the first machine that I recall us getting from the great state of Alabama. And this gentleman here is posing as a good person from the great state of Alabama, kind of soldier boy here, kind of like Forrest Gump was in the movie. And I'm guessing most of you have seen that movie with Forrest Gump. It's kind of a classic fun film, isn't it? All right, so let me get this camera set up a little bit here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing an unboxing. We haven't done an unboxing for a while. And this unboxing is going to be of a machine sent to me from Mary from the great state of Alabama. And no, she's not from Greenbow, Alabama. She's from somewhere in Alabama. We'll just leave it at that. But this particular machine has some real needs that she's wanting to have addressed. Some needs to resolve some issues so that the machine is usable. And I'll assess that a lot better once I get this out of the box and get it on the workbench and start assessing it. Because until we can assess it, we really don't know what we're dealing with. The customer kind of looks at some things and they point to some areas of concern, but it might not be the core issues that the machine has going on. I'm just going to try to review Mary's notes real quick and see if she pointed to anything that I can kind of mention to you guys that we're looking for out of the gate. Nope. She and I talked over the phone quite a bit, and she shared some pictures of this machine. And I really don't know the history of the machine. I don't know what the provenance of the machine is or necessarily how she acquired it. She might have mentioned that just in passing while we were on the phone together, but I don't recall specifically. Hey, Joelle, good morning. Joelle just posted something fun in relation to a post I had on Facebook, and she shared her beautiful sunflowers that are blooming along with probably a whole array of other flowers out in California. That's the beauty of living in a state that in many places is warm year round. You're never lacking for something green and something beautiful. You certainly are in Wisconsin. As you guys have seen even recently on April 4th, when I posted that video clip of us getting a major snowstorm in the Oconto area. So I'll give you a few clues about what might be in this box. A few clues. First of all, I can tell you that our friend, who probably does not need an introduction, Herr Obermeister. If you've never seen him before, if you're brand new to this channel, this is Herr Obermeister. And he hails from a particular country that this machine can call its point of origin. Yeah. So he's probably going to be keeping a real close eye on this unboxing today because he has an interest in kind of what's going on. And as Mary and I were talking about this particular machine coming to the workshop, she said, do you have any videos or any instructions for me on how to pack the machine? I said, I've got a playlist on the Cow Country channel that shows a variety of different machines being packed with my method. And some of these machines have gone as far as Japan and Switzerland and Hawaii and all over the place. And thank goodness, because of that process, and the process keeps improving, all of those machines have arrived unscathed. They've arrived with no issues whatsoever as far as damage. So I'm going to continue packing the way I pack. And today we'll have a chance to see how the UPS store down in Alabama packed this machine, because that's where Mary took the machine. She took the machine into a UPS store, because I had mentioned UPS historically has done a pretty good job with their double boxing method. Even with heavier vintage sewing machines, they generally have done a pretty thorough job. So we're going to have a chance to kind of assess that today and see what we think of the UPS store down in Alabama and how they packed Mary's machine. And I'll see if I can see what the state or what the city is, rather. So it looks like Mary must be somewhere near Gardendale. If anyone wants to be my research guru and type in a Google prompt or something like that, Gardendale, Alabama, and share some interesting facts about that particular state, that would be super cool. Because I don't know a thing about Gardendale, Alabama. I know very little about Alabama other than the way, again, that classic iconic line from Forrest Gump. I'll play it one more time for you if you missed it at the beginning.
You should go home to Greenbow, Alabama.
So most of you probably that have seen that movie, Forrest Gump, know that line right away. And I can tell you one thing I've discovered with working with customers all over the country, around the world, is some of the presuppositions that we have about certain regions, certain areas, certain countries is just way off. The way they characterize Alabama people in the movie Forrest Gump is that they're very rural, unsophisticated people. I can tell you, I've had an eye-opening in even talking with Mary and others from the South on how smart and how sophisticated they are. So let's just throw that right off the shelf straight away and start with a new impression as we start to unveil this mystery machine that, again, Herr Obermeister has a strong interest in. So any of you that know this channel know where Herr Obermeister is from, and Herr, meaning Mr. in a certain language, kind of gives you a big clue, doesn't it? So, oh, and Joelle is writing a question. Oh, is this a German beauty? Tell people to watch your packing videos. Yeah, absolutely. Whenever someone calls, I do encourage them to watch the packing videos. And again, my process of packing continues to evolve. It continues to improve. I'll make slight adaptations and improvements. And I also make adaptations if that machine is traveling an exorbitant distance. For example, when I shipped to Japan and when I recently shipped to Heidi in Switzerland, I made some adaptations to the packing method, even to hedge the bet further that machine, no matter what they did to it along the way, would be okay. Because that's always my biggest concern is I hope for the best, but I prepare for the worst. So today we'll have a chance to see how did UPS store do down in, again, the city that it was packed in is Gardendale, Alabama. And no one's taken me up on it yet, but if someone wants to take me up on it and type in something interesting about Gardendale, Alabama in the chat, and you reach out after this live stream of this unboxing, I'll send you something special. So I'll give you a little bit of an incentive for being a great student of research in telling us about that particular city in Alabama. So with all of that blah, blah, blahing, I'm going to set Herr Obermeister to the side, and we're going to begin the process of seeing what we see in this box. I can tell you that the corrugation, I talk about this a lot when I'm looking at people that have used, or packing professionals like UPS or FedEx have used, as far as the quality of corrugation with the box. I'm not seeing any bulging on the box. The bottom of it appears to be, and again, the bottom always concerns me the most, because that's, as it's traveling on these UPS trucks that have metal beds, this is the area that's going to take the biggest impact as they're sliding it around and moving it from truck to truck, or moving it off of the loading dock onto the truck. Sometimes they might just kind of toss it onto the truck and let it slide to the back because they're in a big rush. They've got a lot of boxes to move very quickly. So all in all, there's nothing alarming that I'm seeing on this box that the UPS store down in Gardendale, Alabama. I love saying that. I'm not seeing any major signs of that it was beat up real bad. There's no punch throughs. Thankfully, it's not really raining much today, because I brought a box in the other day that was on the porch for a little bit of the workshop, and it was raining. And that box, as I went to grab the edges, it had like some cut throughs on the edge where you could slide your hands. It actually ripped all the way up. And thankfully, the box landed on my foot. It didn't land on the porch. The porch is wood anyway, so it wouldn't be as bad as concrete. But this appears to be in good condition. It arrived well, and it just arrived today. And I actually have another live stream planned for later today. I'm hoping to still do it if my voice will hold out. I'm going to be presenting to you a featherweight that came to the workshop in a real rough condition, mechanically, electrically, aesthetically. And as part of that live stream later this evening, I'll show you those pre-pictures. I'll kind of have the machine behind a partition, and then I'll unveil it so you can see the after effects of the workshop magic. And in this case, also the paint shop magic as well. I took it down there and re-clear coated the machine as well. But it's not just as simple as going kind of spraying the machine. You got to take everything off of the machine. You got to strip it all the way down. And then you have to prepare that surface so that when that clear coat goes on, it's not going to show all, it's not going to magnify all the imperfections that are on that paint surface. If you don't prepare the paint surface and you decide to do some clear coating on your own and you just go, you are going to be so frustrated, because any of the areas that you were a little bit concerned about, all of a sudden it's like they're polarized, and it just looks awful. It looks absolutely awful. So I think you'll see the contrast when you look at the machine I prepared for Julie. And Julie is actually going to be picking up early tomorrow morning. So I either have to get up really early and do a live stream like at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Central Time, and jump right into it so that it's ready by the time she arrives here. Or I've got to maybe take a little afternoon nap and then do it this afternoon. That's probably what I'll do late this afternoon, early this evening. So kind of watch for that. Watch for that live stream on this featherweight. You're really going to want to see the transformation. It's really cool. All right, so enough of Forrest Gump giving us that classic line.
You should go home to Greenbow, Alabama.
All right, Forrest, we got it. We got it. We got it. All right, so let me put on a little bit of music for us to listen to while we're unboxing. And let's get into this. You guys have been real patient as I've been blah, blah, blahing. So, and it looks like we've got about, we're kind of fluctuating between 8 to 10 folks on the live stream right now. That's really amazing. I want to thank all of you for putting your lives on pause, because this is a busy time of the day and it's nearing the end of the week. So I'm glad you're here. And if you want to join Joelle in the live chat so we can welcome you officially, that would be really cool. That would be super cool. All right, so let's try this. Let's check this out. I'm going to move this over. I've got a different display rack now that I'm trying to use. Let's see here. It's a little bit awkward to work with. So again, my hint is Herr Obermeister has a strong interest in this machine. He has a very strong interest in this machine. And this machine would have come on the scene in the 1950s, probably around 1956, 1957. And I have shown this machine on this channel before. So you've seen this type of machine, but you haven't seen this one. So this will be fun. Oh, welcome to... I got really, these are so dirty right now. Welcome to Magni and FTF. I don't know who FTF is, but welcome to you folks. Thanks for stepping out and giving us a chance to welcome you to the, and hello from Virginia. I love the state of Virginia. Isn't that, it's a lovely state, isn't it?
I'm not sure where that's where FTF is from, but I'm not sure where Magni. Oh, maybe it's like Magnum, Magnio. Okay. Good afternoon. Oh wow. Now I'm paying attention, you guys. Now I can actually pay attention and read. So we've got Magnio from Norway. It's great to have you here from Norway. Wonderful. Isn't that the fun thing about these live streams? You never know where folks are going to be visiting from. So, and I've got a dear friend that lives in Norway, Hans Christian. Hans Christian used to be on the channel with me as a leader in that, and wonderful fella. And I hope he and his family are doing well over in the great country of Norway. Norway is, if you folks don't know this, if you don't follow, like, you don't get like a news feed, Norway is also an incredibly progressive country when it comes to technology. You know, I've seen so many news feeds come up about new innovations that they're doing. So keep an eye on them. They are very, very progressive folks. All right, a little bit more music here. All right, let's get into this. And I say this all the time, but if you're opening up a box of any kind, always set the length of your cutting blade so it's not going to cut too deep, because we can feel there's a little bit of play on top. Kind of look at the, let me move the camera over there. Hold on a sec. This banjo music is getting really excited. So I always kind of check to see how much give there is on top. And this is going down a good distance. You can see me kind of pressing on it. So it's telling me that we don't have the machine right underneath the cover. So I'm still going to cut a little shallow. We'll open this up and then we'll see what's inside of the box. Again, UPS out of Gardendale, Alabama. And again, if any of the new folks that just joined the live stream want to Google Gardendale, Alabama, and type something in the chat that's interesting, and you reach out after this live stream to me, I'll send you something special for being our research guru on Gardendale, Alabama. Yes, I will. Oh, welcome to, I think that's Michelle, right? We've got so many new folks, but I believe the orange one that just popped up is my dear friend Michelle. Hi, all. I'll be here watching and listening on the TV, but unable to chat. These live streams are so fun. Yeah, I agree. I love the interaction factor with the live streams. I love the interaction, getting to know folks. Right as usual. Oh, you're sweet. You're very kind. But yeah, I mean, the live streams give us a different dynamic, don't they? Now, here's the trade-off. When I pre-shoot a video, let's say instead of doing this live, I had pre-shot it and then I presented it as a premiere. I would have a greater opportunity to interact in the chat. But with the live streams, we can interact in real time. And you guys can even make suggestions, like when I'm presenting a machine, and I can involve you in saying, what materials should we sew first? It's just kind of fun. It's a little bit more connected, isn't it? It's kind of cool. Oh, welcome to Mary as well. Welcome to Mary. Mary, now this is Mary joining us, and I don't know that I asked Mary her last name. Mary, are you the owner that shipped this machine? Because if you are, don't tell them what it is. We're doing a little bit of a mystery unveiling where I'm giving some clues and they have to guess what might be in the box. They know it's interesting to Herr Obermeister, and I think by now all of you know Herr Obermeister is from Germany. So that gives you a big clue as to what the origin or the birthplace of this machine is. But again, if that is, let's see. Okay, so that is a different Mary. Thank you for clarifying that. So, but welcome to Mary, wherever you're from. I don't know what state you're from or what country you're from, but we've got friends in our midst right now that are from California. We've got friends that are, I don't even, let's see, where is Michelle from? Michelle, where are you from? We've got a friend from Virginia. We've got a friend from Norway. We now have a friend
from California, another California. So Mary, you can say hey to Joelle because Joelle is also from California. Joelle, who's right at the top of the chat, Joelle Watkins. If I'm reading that right, these glasses are just horrible. I've got to get different. These are everybody's blurry. So yeah, you can say hey to Joelle. Joelle and Mary are both from California, which is awesome. Now we've got a New Yorker that just joined us, which is super cool. We've got Michelle. You know what, Michelle? I apologize. I should have remembered you were from Minnesota. So isn't it kind of cool? We got folks from all over the place, from as far away as Norway. We've got folks all over the country, and we're all coming together under the same banner of loving vintage sewing machines. So that's really nice. Very, very nice. And now we got our California ladies saying, hey, what's up? What's up? And Joelle just posted on the Cow Country channel, if you want to check it out, she posted some beautiful pictures of her sunflowers. And we in Wisconsin that are still having cold, rainy days and periodically snow still in April are a little bit envious of you California folks. We really are. And I lived in California for a brief period of time. I lived down in Fresno, California, if you know where that is. And I also lived in the Bay Area of California. And this is going way back when I was involved in healthcare. I was working in healthcare out in California in that great state. So, yeah, I know a little bit about California. Yeah, a little bit. Little bit. All right, let's see if I can find a little bit more music to pop on while y'all are getting to know each other in the chat a little bit. Let's see what else we have here. I typed in, because I haven't done it for a while, I typed in the keyword banjo because I love banjo music. I'm trying to learn how to play the banjo, slow but sure. All right, let's get into this. Let me get this top open. And I'm going to change this camera position a little bit higher up so you guys can kind of see from this angle maybe. Yeah, that's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Like I said, I got this new rack and it's kind of relearning things. Yeah, you can tell straight away that this came out of a UPS store with their classic double boxing method. I think you can see that. I kind of tilted towards the camera a little bit. This is a classic packing method by UPS. They love to double box things. Oh, you're 1 hour away from Fresno. How cool is that? Yeah, I think California is a beautiful state. Depending on where you live, you got access to so much too, don't you? You got access to the ocean. You got access to the mountains. If you're a wine drinker, you got access to the beautiful vineyards to the north. Just so many things. One of my favorite places I'll share with you guys real quick as we're continuing on this unboxing. One of my favorite places that I visited when I was in California, and the company I was helping at the time actually took all of us there. It was like a field trip. And we even got little snacks in it. I'm joking about the snacks. We didn't get any snacks, but they took us to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Has anyone else ever been to the Monterey Bay Aquarium? It's such a beautiful aquarium. It's such a beautiful area down there. We stayed in this place. It was right on the water. Man, they just spoiled us to death. We didn't want to go back. Just an amazing experience. Beautiful, beautiful place. All right, let's continue with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the front of this box open so I can slide this inner box out a little bit more easily. Makes it a little bit easier to get to it.
again, I've got enough distance, but I'm going to keep my blade pretty short. Better too short than not long enough. You can always extend it and cut it a second time, but if you go too long with the blade, you could cut through and possibly damage something. So I'm being real careful with this X-Acto knife. I showed you guys, I think this is healed up pretty good now, but I was cutting a box down to recycle it, and I slipped with this one time. So you get a little bit too relaxed and you can make mistakes, you know? And those of you that know my packing method know that I don't use cardboard. I don't use cardboard for shipping sewing machines. So that's why I'm not reluctant to cut into this box and then I'll go ahead and recycle it, because this is not my method. I don't use this. Oh, it's kind of stuck to the bottom, that's why. Let's see if we can get it out now. It's still stuck to the bottom. The UPS people, I think Mary showed them my video. Maybe they're just messing with me, you know? Maybe they super glued the box to the bottom of the other box, and they're like, we're going to show this Wisconsin guy that our method is better than his. We're going to super glue it. I think it's just tape. Yeah. We'll get it loose. We'll get it loose. Put a little bit more music on so we can unpack the music. Like I'm giving the box a haircut or something. Wow, after all of that, I think we finally are loose. Yeah, we are. Now I got to figure out how to get that without knocking over all my friends. Sorry about that. All right, let's get this out of the way. That's another reason to use a tote like I use for my packing, because you don't have to deal with all of this. But that's okay. So I'm sure that they have filler inside of this box. They kind of pack around the sewing machine, but I can feel it jiggling in there. So I'm guessing it's probably some sort of a paper, and it's not packed really tight, which is allowing the machine to move around inside of the box. And movement when you're shipping something is never a good thing. You want to eliminate all the movement of that machine. You just do. Oh, I've got to read what Joelle wrote here. Gardendale, Alabama was called Jugtown because of a jug factory. Hetty somebody, a school teacher, led a campaign to change the name of the community in 1906, the name Gardendale was selected. Yeah, I think Gardendale is a lot more appealing than Jug, whatever it was, Jugtown. Yeah, yeah. Good choice, good choice, good choice. I mean, Jugtown next to a college or something like that, maybe that would work. But yeah, yeah, good choice. Gardendale is, yeah, much better. So yeah, if you decide to use cardboard, I mean, that's up to you. But just make sure if you use that inner box as kind of the sanctum for the machine, that you pack it really, really snug so that that machine can't be jostling around as it's tossed around by UPS or FedEx or whoever you have shipping it for you. Because movement can result very quickly in damage for a machine. All right. We'll pop some other music on real quick and we'll get into this box finally. So this next one is called COVID come not near. COVID come not near. That's really the name of the song, if you can believe that. COVID come not near. Yeah, I agree. So do we have any German sewing machine owners in the audience? Anybody have a German sewing machine already? Whether it's vintage or a newer one. I've had newer German sewing machines in the workshop as well, kind of long arm quilting style ones. And I recently presented to you that Juki that I gave very high marks to. So I'm not anti-contemporary machines, but let's just face it, they're not built to the level of our vintage sewing machines, are they? They're not. So let me let you take a peek in the box. You can kind of see what we have in here. Sort of, kind of, anyway. So they did follow Mary's recommendation of at least kind of moving towards my packing method, because this is not typical for UPS to use the bubble stretch wrap method like I use. So they must have watched the video, which is cool. And they also, from what we can see, they packed the machine on the side, didn't they? They packed it on the side. So hopefully, if they packed it with the front of the machine facing up, that's what I'm hoping for, because this particular machine that we know by now is from Germany, right? We know that. You guys are really smart. I can't fool you. We know it's from Germany. The layout of this machine has a lot of vulnerability on the front of it. A lot of vulnerability. And Mary and I talked about that on the phone. When she described what the machine was, I said, you got to really, if you're going to have someone else pack it for you, you got to hammer home. You got to hammer home that this machine is very vulnerable on the front of the machine. So hopefully they took that advice to heart, and this machine has arrived unscathed. And then we can all reach out. I think the phone number is on the shipping label. You can all call this UPS store down in Alabama and say, hey, great job, great job. And if you can get that far and they don't hang up on you, yes, victory. Victory is ours. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to kind of cut the front of this box open. I'm going to reach in and just make sure I've got enough clearance, and I do. And then we'll slide this inner package out, this bubble wrap package. I've got my hand way clear of it this time. Yeah, if you've ever been cut by one of these, it is not pleasant, to say the least. There we go. Yeah, I'll have to rethink the position of this, the way I've got it set up, because I have to keep kind of walking in front of the camera with this music. All right, let's get this out. Now I'm a little bit confused as to which end is which. Well, we'll just have to go with it, huh? I'm hoping that this is the bottom. It's not going to stand up for us, is it? It's not going to stand up. I guess we better go and just open it from the side, kind of like they had it in the box, because right now with this beveled like that, it's not sitting level. It's not sitting level. So we'll just have to kind of see what we can find out here. Trying to see if I can figure out, feeling the top of the machine now. I think this is the top. I think this is the bottom and this is the top. We'll have to wait and see. This is unusual. I've never seen UPS use this material before. It's that real flexible foam stuff. All right, let me move this. Well, let's move this on the other side here. That was easy. I didn't even push the button. That thing just went off by itself. That's borderline creepy. And I checked the batteries. I thought the batteries might be low, and that's why it's doing that without pushing it, but the batteries are fine. All right, here we go. Okay, I can say decidedly now, I felt one of the pedestal feet. This is the bottom. So I'm gonna, when I reposition it, I'll put this down, get this bubble wrap stuff out of the way, and then we should have the machine at least orientated correctly. And my Wheaties are paying off. This is like a 42-pound machine, I can tell you that. Ugh. Let's see, I think it's like that. So maybe this is specific to the Alabama store, but they usually use a lot of the paper, and they have these huge rolls of paper if you're ever in a UPS store, and they'll be pulling it off like this, and then they'll use it as a packing filler in the boxes. Here they're using this soft foam with the bubble wrap. That's kind of cool. I've never seen that before. From a UPS packer anyway. Oh, welcome to Jan as well. I don't think I'd welcome Jan Shipman. Several vintage FOF machines. Very cool. Outstanding. What model FOFs do you have, Jan? Just curious. There's so many great FOF models that they made. So many great models. Oh, we're almost down to it already. You can see the body of the machine kind of through that last layer of bubble wrap right there. You can kind of make it out, can't you? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Mary did get it across that it was fragile. You know, all in all, I wouldn't say that this is as good as the packing method that I've shown to all of you, but UPS in some locations has done a horrifically poor job. If you look at some of the unpacking videos where I highlight that UPS has done some of the packing, some of their locations, oh my gosh, this one, I just raked them over the coals because that machine was packed so poorly. They just done, I mean, it was like, what were they out for coffee? And they found one of the customers and said, hey, could you help us with this? We're out for coffee right now. And just wrap it up however you want to wrap it up. That was kind of the way that some of those other machines had been done by UPS. And I think that one that I really raked over the coals was from out west somewhere. I don't remember. You guys might remember better than I do. But yeah, UPS is not always, you know, if they have corporate standards as far as their packing, you know, they have like a book that says pack everything this way. Not all the stores are following it. I can tell you that without a doubt. So Jan, I saw Jan has just shared some of the machines that she has, some of the German FOF machines that she has. And if you're in circles where, you know, whether it's Facebook groups or whatever, or you're watching videos and someone keeps using the word faff, like Aflac, the insurance company, right? I can tell you, living in Germany, the Germans do not pronounce the word that way. They pronounce it fof, kind of that dark sound, fof, almost like you're barking, fof, not faff, not like that. So, you know, I can't control how people pronounce it, but the Germans have a certain way of saying it, and I can tell you it's not twangy. And it doesn't sound anything like faff, nothing like it at all. So, for whatever it's worth, right? Some of you would say potatoes, but when it comes to sewing machines, we're in an environment where we learn together. So, as you're interacting with people, just keep saying fof, and see if they adopt that, or if they go, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Yeah, spot on, Jan. Well done. FOF. Yep. Based on, okay, FOF 30, FOF 130. And again, Jan is really a sweetheart. She's sharing some particulars about her collection of German FOF machines. Remember, with the 130 series, it was introduced as like the very first zigzag machine for FOF. And then they added that really cool embroidery kit. Some people, I don't know why they call it a coffee grinder, but they do. That cool embroidery kit that they added to the 130 on the back that I've shown on this channel. You can look it up on this channel and watch that machine do its magic. But that embroidery kit really added so much to that very early version of a zigzag machine introduced by the Foff Sewing Machine Company. It's kind of a fun sound. If you don't dance at the end of the work week, how is life good at all? You know what I mean? All right, let's finish unveiling this and see what we find, huh? Let's see what we find. All right, kind of orientate like that. Step in front of the camera again.
I wish I could find a longer song, but apparently banjo songs are not long. Who knew? I didn't know. Oh, that's the same one.
Let's try that one. Yeah. All right, we're down to the nitty gritty here, folks. We're down to the nitty gritty. And when you get this close to the machine, if you're unpacking a machine, let's say you bought a machine from someone, they shipped it to you, hopefully using our method of packing so that you know it's going to arrive undamaged. So many people have shared stories about damaged machines arriving from eBay and Etsy and all the other places you can buy sewing machines. I've shared this packing method, which continues to improve, with everyone, and they can use it. I even have fellow people that do vintage sewing machine restoration that claim it as their own packing method, and they've actually contacted me to confess that. I said, don't worry about it. As long as you're using the method, as long as your customers are delighted with you because the machines you're shipping them are arriving undamaged, then steal the idea all day long. It's your idea now. So what I was starting to say before I went on my little rant, you get this close to the machine, go to scissors. Don't go X-Acto knife anymore. And that's kind of common sense, but let's just face it, common sense is not common. It's not. Not even among fellow smart people like us. Sometimes we get a little bit anxious, and we want to get it out of there quickly, and then we make a mistake, right? So take your time. Take your time when you're unpacking a vintage machine. Yeah, I'm still marveling, you guys. I'm still marveling at what Joelle from California shared. She was our research expert today that looked up Gardendale, Alabama. I'm still curious as to why they would ever name a town Jugtown. I guess because they made jugs, right? Okay, I get that. I get it. But something more creative, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. But that was the right move. Change the name of the city. Change the name of the town. We're so close. We're so close. Well, we are close enough right now where if I press on this, you can actually see, number one, you can see it's a black machine, right? You can see it's black. A lot of the Foffs are kind of that, what color would you call the other Foffs? They're more of a cream color, right? Matter of fact, I can show you one, and then you can tell me if you're not familiar with Foffs, you can tell me what color you think it is. Let's see. Got one over here somewhere.
Putting it right in front of Herr Obermeister. So you can see this one in the shot, I think. What color would you call that? Most of you that know me pretty well know that I'm not incredibly gifted or knowledgeable about the color wheel. And there's so many variations of colors too, aren't there? Oh, that's a fun name. You guys see what Jan called it? I'm kind of liking that. Now I'm getting a craving for coffee. And I had coffee this morning. I usually only drink coffee in the morning. I drink about 2 to 3 cups and that's it. No more coffee. And it's not because it would keep me awake. I could drink a pot of coffee before bedtime and I would just like that, just go to sleep. Probably from my Army training where we drank coffee all the time, especially out in the field. But that is a fun name for that color, isn't it? We've got another fun name from Susan. Welcome to Susan as well. I didn't say welcome to Susan yet. So welcome to Susan that came up with, is that Tape? Am I pronouncing that right? You guys are you're coming up with such cool names. Now it's going to be like, what do we call it? What name do we use? So many great suggestions for color. Salt Creek. I don't think we played that yet. Holy mackerel. This is jamming music here. So whatever color we end up adopting, or maybe we adopt more than one color name to describe this type of machine, it's kind of neat that when makers will mix it up. And sometimes they'll come up with different colors. Sometimes they'll come up with different textures. All of you have seen the Godzilla finish type machines that Singer came out with that are so cool. I think they made a lot of them from the Class 66 version where it has that bumpy feeling to it. Other manufacturers did as well, come up with that kind of that Godzilla or that. There's another term for it. I'm kind of blanking on what the other term is for that textured finish that Singer and other manufacturers used. But it's really cool nonetheless. Oh, yeah, my pleasure, Mary. I have my own little corner. If you guys have never, let's see. Yes, thank you, Emma. And welcome to Emma as well. I don't think I said welcome to Emma, but Emma is spot on. They also refer to it as crinkle finish. And they even use the crinkle finish or the Godzilla type bumpy, almost like a braille service on the machine. They even use that on the featherweights. And if you ever come across, let me give you guys a huge tip here. Listen up, because this could make you a very, very happy person. If you ever come across a crinkle finish featherweight, and let's just say you see it somewhere. Maybe you see it at an estate sale or you see it at an auction, and they are so audacious as to be asking $1,000 for that machine, and it appears to be in good working condition. Maybe you even had a chance to examine it before the auction. Scoop that machine up in a heartbeat, because a crinkle finish or a Godzilla finish featherweight is worth about $7,000 to $8,000. $7,000 to $8,000. It's actually more valuable than a 222K that was made in Scotland, and they only made about 100,000 of them. So just a free tip, because you guys are all over the place. You're out of the country. You're all over the U.S. Crinkle finish Class 66 models, not that valuable. Crinkle finish other models, it depends. But a crinkle finish featherweight, a 221 or a 221-1, $7,000 to $8,000. And how do I know that? Because I'm really, really smart? Sort of, but I know about it because of a dear friend of mine who lives down in the great state of Oklahoma. Let me tell you guys a quick little story about honesty. You guys have heard me, this is going back a ways. Let me kind of kneel down here for a second. You guys remember me, I was planning a trip to go down to the Oklahoma Museum down around Tulsa, Oklahoma. And my friend, WK, he goes by WK. Those are the two initials that he prefers to be referred to that way. Double K, double K, WK was going to invite me to come down, and they were going to make a big deal out of it. And then the pandemic hit, and he had all kinds of activities planned. There's a network of sewers down there that follow this channel and are big fans and big lovers of what we do in cow country. And so I was really excited to get down there. I publicized that, and 2 times I had to cancel that trip because things came up where it just didn't work out. It still hasn't worked out yet, but maybe eventually. I'd love to go down to Tulsa, Oklahoma and visit WK's museum. It's an interactive museum. So when you're down in his museum, it's not looking at things behind glass. You're going up to the machines and actually sitting down to them and sewing with them. And it's all about touch and go. You go from one station to another. Anyway, to my point, what I'll share real quick, and then we'll get back to this. What WK shared with me one time, we were on the phone, we were chatting, getting to know each other. And he said, Scott, my people down here love you. They love what you do. They love your enthusiasm for vintage. They love, which was great to hear that. It's great to hear that. And many of you have said that as well. You appreciate the enthusiasm. And we share that, don't we? Through forums like this. It's not just me getting excited, but it's all of you getting excited and saying, I had no idea after watching a premiere about a featherweight. I had no idea that even though it's only 11 pounds and it's aluminum on the outside, it's got forged steel throughout. And I know now that I can sew leather with that machine. And those are the discoveries that we can celebrate as we unveil the potential, and as I call it, the greatness of these vintage sewing machines that we adore, right? And WK adores vintage sewing machines down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And just before the pandemic hit, he had a lady walk in. And this lady that walked in to his museum was carrying something in a bag. It wasn't a real fancy bag. It was a bag. And she was in a real bad situation. She was desperate for money. She needed money to survive. It was a matter of being out of work and other things that impacted her life. And as she set this bag up on the counter, kind of like I just got done reading those awesome essays for our calico contest. And one of the persons that came in that top 3 mentions this machine being brought in from the wagon and put up on the counter, and you can't see what it is at that point. That's kind of like the situation with WK down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This lady brings in this bag. She starts to take it out of there, and all of a sudden his eyes get about as big as the state of Texas, because what she takes out of that bag, and by the way, she's already told him it's a featherweight. She knows that much. It's a featherweight. And all she wants is $500 for it. All she wants is $500 for this machine. And that's going to get her by. That's going to get her over this difficult bump in her life right now, so she can get back on her own feet and she can survive and maybe even thrive a little bit with the $500. You guys already know where I'm going with this, right? You already know, because you're like the smartest audience on YouTube anywhere. What she pulls out of that bag is a crinkle finish featherweight. A crinkle finish featherweight. And my buddy at WK, that's tricky to say. My buddy WK, who is a man of honor, he's a man of values. He looks at this lady and he goes, you can put that back in the bag if you're determined to sell it to me for $500, because I will not give you $500 for that machine. She misinterpreted what he said, and she said, well, would you give me $400 for it? Maybe I can get by with $400. He goes, honey, that machine is worth a lot more than $500. And he tells her. He didn't have to tell her. She would have been happy with $500, but WK down in Tulsa, Oklahoma is a man of principle, a man of honor. And he goes, ma'am, let me tell you something about that machine. That is a crinkle finish machine. They only made about 150 of them, about 150. And there's people that debate that number, but let's say that they made a lot less crinkle finish featherweights than they did even the 222K. And I believe Emma, who's in the audience right now, I'm about 90% sure. I always mix Emma and Madeline. They're both in the same neck of the woods. They're both real good friends. I think it may have been Maddie, not Emma. But at any rate, one of these two ladies has a 222K. They only made about 100,000 of them over 8 years in Scotland. And I brag about that all the time, saying that's valuable. But when you get to the crinkle finish featherweights, a couple hundred of them, a couple hundred. And he tells her, ma'am, I'm not going to pay you $500 because that machine is worth about $7,000. She almost fell over. She almost fell over. And he said, let me tell you what I'm going to do. And I think he took his phone or he did something and he took a couple pictures of her machine. And he told her about this network of sewists down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Some of these are real affluent, aggressive collectors of vintage sewing machines. They're they're top tier. They're top shelf as far as the machines that they collect. And he said, I'm going to let these folks know about you and about this machine. And I'll bet you one of them scoops it up in a hiccup. Well, guess what? They scooped it up in a hiccup. One of his people in his circle of sewists down there that are part of this group that follow cow country, one of them scooped it up and they paid her premium dollar for it. I want to say, and WK can correct me, but I want to say they paid between $6,000 to $7,000 for this. This lady had to be on cloud nine, and she could have just went on her merry way. But guess what she did? Because of WK's honesty, she came back to that museum down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and she donated $1,000 because they're a nonprofit. They operate over, off of whatever they can get to come in. So honesty is always the best policy, like the saying goes. But I had to share that story with you about the featherweight because it points to, there were a lot of ways that could have been handled, and WK handled it the right way. So all of that ranting and sharing and all that cool stuff that I just shared with you probably is inspiring you to say, now that we're kind of getting through the pandemic, maybe you want to schedule a trip down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, but reach out to those folks down there first at their museum and find out if they're open to the public again. WK and I haven't talked for a while, so I don't know what their situation is right now. But if you get a chance during the summer, we're kind of going into summer now, even though in Wisconsin, we're still getting snow in April. But if you get a chance to take a trip down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and tell WK that guy from Wisconsin, Cow Country, sent you down there. And I'm sure that he and his friends down there that run that museum, they're going to make you feel real welcome. They would anyway, because that's Oklahoma hospitality. But I'm excited to eventually get down there. If I could stand up now after kneeling on this concrete floor. So, hope you enjoyed that little story. That's super cool. Great integrity. Yeah, it really is. It really is. And it's easy sometimes, and that's why, I've got mixed feelings. I like to get a good deal too. I think all of us do by human nature. We like to get a good deal. But if you happen to be, if you're not critically in need of a particular machine and you stumble across someone that doesn't have your knowledge, they haven't been part of our classroom, they don't understand the value of a machine, and they may be selling a machine that easily could be worth several $100s, maybe even on the higher end of that, maybe $500-600, and they're offering it for $50. Maybe that's your opportunity to demonstrate integrity as well. Instead of and I always hate to beat up the Facebook people, because I'm on Facebook now as well. I was reluctant about it for a while, but I'm on Facebook now and have received a lot of blessings through Facebook, new customers, new opportunities for sharing. When I work on machines like this one, I'll post like hundreds of progress photos, as you guys know, about that machine. And then we ultimately culminate with a live stream or a premiere like this about that particular machine. That's what we're going to do eventually for Mary's machine from Alabama. But there are those folks as well in those groups on Facebook that will brag and boast about the price that they got a machine from somebody for, a machine that might be worth close to $1,000 and they paid $25 for it, and they brag about it. I don't know, maybe you would disagree with me. If you disagree with me, then just type it in the chat and disagree. I don't care. That's fine. But I think it's shameful. I think it's shameful to take advantage of someone to that degree, where you might have a machine that's worth $1,000. Let's just use that number. You might have a machine that's worth $1,000 and that person has no knowledge. Maybe they're the son or daughter of someone that passed away. Maybe they're the granddaughter or grandson of someone that passed away, and that's been in the family forever. It's a very valuable machine, whatever the machine is. I think it's our duty. I think it's our duty to tell that person what that machine is. As I've done on Facebook Marketplace a couple of times, telling someone that they have a 201-2, the Rolls Royce of Singer sewing machines, and that they shouldn't be asking $20 for it. They should be asking $200 for it, or $300, depending on the condition of that machine. Now, the other people that were hoping to scoop it up that do not have scruples probably hate me to death when they read my remark telling that person what they have. But you know what? It's what I'm going to do. And it's what you may want to do, or at least consider doing, if you stumble across something like that. And maybe what that person will say to you is, you know what, because of your honesty, let's meet in the middle. Or because of your honesty, what's a fair offer to you? They push it back into your court. And that's your opportunity to then have control over that opportunity to get that machine that you wanted in the first place anyway. But you can get it at a price that's fair to that person selling it, and also fair to you. And you still get a good deal in the process. So I didn't know what any of your thoughts are on that, but I think, being part of this cow country family, one of the things I try to emphasize is learning, sharing knowledge. And I think also I demonstrate integrity through my work as well. I don't do it halfway. I do it the right way with the workshop magic. So take that for whatever it's worth. Let's finish unboxing this. Or at this point, we don't have a box anymore. We're just going to finish taking this last layer off, and you can take a peek at Mary's machine from Alabama. That's so fun to say. That's so fun to say. All right, let's take this off. We'll take a look at this machine. And as we were talking about color schemes, and we were talking about crinkle finishes and everything else, I try to do things in life intentionally. So you're going to see shortly why I picked this particular machine. Yeah, you'll see shortly why I picked this particular machine. There we go. Now we can see it. And strange, bizarre, crazy bizarre, these machines seem to resemble people, seem to resemble themselves. I almost said people. Our machines are like people to us, aren't they? These machines seem to resemble each other. And that's because they're the same model. They're the same model. They just look a little bit different because this one is whatever colors you guys came up with, which brilliant names for whatever color this is. And this one is more of an ebony color, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to set this one right there. Just making sure we don't have anything in the bottom of here. Looks like we have some rust in the bottom of here, or dirt or something. I don't know what that is. Nothing's crawling. Nothing's crawling, thank goodness. I say that because one time I got a featherweight. It was not a crinkle finish featherweight, by the way, but I got a featherweight that came to the workshop from, I want to say, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, or something like that. And when I took the faceplate off, this critter crawled out. It wasn't a fast moving critter, but it crawled out and scared the life out of me. It would have been one of those funny TikTok videos that everyone would have they probably would have went viral or something, because my
My father used to have a phrase that I won't use on this channel, but he would say, blank, blank a brick. I probably came close to that. Yeah. In honor of dad had all kinds of sayings. I won't share most of them with you because he was a former Marine, and Marines have all kinds of sayings. You guys get what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, you do. Okay. So let's take a look at Mary's machine primarily, but we'll also look at my machine on the left, and we'll kind of compare and contrast the two a little bit. That'll be fun. All right. So a little bit more music because it's so quiet in the workshop. But I'll tell you one thing, when UPS showed up a little while ago to deliver Mary's machine, Hank let me know straight away that there was someone delivering something to the workshop. You guys know Hank. I think you do. So a little bit different on these two machines. Let's take a closer look. Look at Mary's machine first. Oh, this is my harmonica song. Set this down for a second. Now, what do you, let me get this untangled and then I'll ask you a question. You guys have been in this classroom a lot, right? What do you notice about Mary's setup right now? What kind of foot controller does she have wired into this machine? She has a Singer foot controller wired into it. Is this a problem? Go ahead and type in the chat, and I should give you a little bit of a clue so that you have something to work with if you don't know already. But the machine motor on this particular FOF, matter of fact, I think I can almost show it to you. No, I can't. The cord's not long enough. So what I'll tell you is the motor on the back of this FOF is going to be either a 1.1, turn it down further. It's going to be either a 1.1 amp motor or a 1.3 amp motor is what typically would come on these models. And it's original FOF motor. So it's going to demand a lot of juice to power up this machine. Plus you've got the mechanics of the machine that it's going to need that extra power to move this main shaft and to power that needle bar and everything. But is there a problem? I mean, it looks like somebody did a fairly decent job of wiring in this foot controller to Mary's FOF. And if you haven't seen the model number yet, let me move this rack a little bit closer. And move this rack a little bit closer so we have a little bit more reach with the camera. But we've got this original FOF motor on the back. And I can't, with these lousy reading glasses, I can't read it, but maybe you can read if I hold the camera real still, whether this is a 1.1 or a 1.3. Maybe you can't. We got a little bit of a reflection off of there, don't we? But regardless of which one it is, this particular model, and I'll show you what it is if you didn't guess it already, just like this one. So we're obviously dealing with a FOF 230. And if you want to learn something new, I think part of the fun thing in our classroom is we can learn new things together. I can tell you that if you want to say this in German, you say a FOF 320. 320. 320. In Germany, when you're reading a number, you don't read from left to right, you read from right to left. So 3 in German is dry. And so we say 300, 320. But it's actually reversed in the German language. So it comes out to be 230. 320. 320. So, yeah, if you didn't know that, now you know that. So, for whatever that's worth. But these machines come with a fairly robust motor. And this one on the left that belongs to me is going to have a similar motor on it. If we kind of look at that, this one is going to be, I think, a 1.3 amp, if I remember correctly. Yep, this is a 1.3 amp. You can kind of see it if I hold the camera real still. Maybe you can see it better if I don't shine the light on it. So back to my question, and now I'll finally stop gabbing and look at the chat. Let's see. Yes, it can be. Foot controller is 0.7 amps, is what Emma wrote. A black FOF 230, nice. Yeah, I agree. I like it, Jan. I think the black is cool. Bobby, welcome to Bobby. I don't think I said welcome to Bobby yet. Bobby writes, can you open it while you talk, please? Thanks. Open it. What do you want me to open, Bobby? The top of the machine or what? You want to look at the twin belts on it? If Bobby Hall, what a great name. If Bobby Hall is still in the live stream, just clarify for me what you want me to open on the machine. What do you want me to open? So to Emma's point, this foot controller by Singer is rated at 0.7 amps. In other words, the maximum electrical output flowing through this that supplies the motor should be 0.7 amps or less. So that doesn't quite work out, does it? When you've got a motor like these FOF 320 that are demanding somewhere around 1.3 amps, you get 1.3 amps versus 0.7 amps. What is the result going to be if I finish all of my work on this FOF machine and I send it back to Mary in the great state of Alabama and I don't do anything about this? What is the result potentially going to be on the lesser side and on the extreme side? Does someone want to venture a guess if we are operating a motor that far exceeds the amperage tolerance of a foot controller? What can happen? What potentially can happen? So Emma is saying less power. I think that's accurate, less power, but something a little bit more extreme. Emma is also writing the amperage should be higher on the foot controller. No one else wanting to jump in? So Jan is saying that if you use a foot controller that has an insufficient amount of amperage tolerance, that you won't get maximum performance. You won't get the full potential of the machine. That's true to a great extent. That's true to a great extent. Joel is heading in the right direction. Read what Joel wrote. Joel from the great state of California wrote, you might be looking at a fire. What happens is when, think of the foot controller as the gateway to powering the motor. The electricity flows through whatever plug-in setup you have on the machine. If it has a junction point where you connect the foot controller and you connect the light and then you connect the power source, and then that energy will flow through there into the foot controller and then eventually from the foot controller into the motor. And I've talked before about machines having peak times as well, where they actually will go higher than what they're rated for, depending on how that motor is operating and how how that energy flow is coming into that motor. You might actually peak at 1.4 amps when you're running it full out at full throttle.
So all of a sudden, you've got a foot controller that is rated at about 50% of the capacity of the motor output on this FOF 320, this FOF 230. What starts to happen then is as that foot controller is racing to try to keep up with the demand of that huge motor, just like a jet engine sucking in air. This is sucking in that electricity at a higher rate than it should be, and it starts to superheat. The ceramic innards of it start to get red hot. I actually showed you a picture of that one time with a foot controller that was a Singer like this that was actually glowing red. I posted that on Facebook. It'll start to superheat and it will get potentially so hot that if you're barefooted, like my friend Annette down in Texas, I don't know if any of the rest of you like to sew barefoot or with bare feet, but Annette does. And I had supplied her with a Husqvarna 21A, I want to say it was. And she was doing a lot of freehand motion quilting with it and was trying to regulate the speed using the foot controller instead of using the slow gear that's a part of that machine. What started to happen is that energy started to build up in that foot controller. Think of it like a dam, opening a dam and letting the water flow. When you're all the way down on the foot controller, that dam is wide open and the water is moving smoothly over the dam or through the dam. When you're holding it back, it's putting a lot of pressure on that gateway to the dam. And eventually what can happen is it can literally, if you're trying to restrict a heavy flow of water over an extended period of time, and that dam is not built real well, you can actually cause that dam to fail. And then all of a sudden you have all that water flooding through. Matter of fact, they show that in a couple of movies where that happens. But my point is, when you're sewing slow, that energy starts to build up in that foot controller. And that can even complicate things where it'll blow out a capacitor or something like that. It'll overheat the foot controller. But the foot controller, like Emma was trying to say, and like I think Joel was alluding to as well, the foot controller for any machine, whether it's new or old or antique or whatever, the foot controller should always have a larger amperage tolerance than the machine motor that's powering that machine. So in order to make this setup right and to make it safe for Mary down in Alabama, I'm going to have to come up with a FOF foot controller, or I could also ask her, because that may be a little bit harder to source. It may be a little bit more expensive. I could also look for an electronic foot controller as well online that is rated at 1.5 amps or better. And they do have those online. You can buy them. And then I could wire it up to work with this FOF, and it'll be safe, and it will get that max power output, that max performance that our friend from California was talking about. And it'll be ultimately safe as well. Yeah, overheating, right. Susan Wires. Susan, what are you saying about the wires? I don't quite follow that, but that's okay. Susan is saying something about wires. The only damage, the damage really would be to the innards of the foot controller. If you're using a foot controller like this and it's creating that buildup of energy in here, like a dam holding back the water, it could crack that ceramic innard. It could cause damage to the soft copper components that are inside of the foot controller, because this will basically become like an oven. It'll become like an oven with that electricity generating more and more and more heat, to a point where if you touch the outside or you use a heat gun like I've shown you guys on this channel before, and you actually take a temperature, this thing could get as hot as 140 to 150, 160 degrees. And that's very dangerous. The wiring itself, most wiring is going to be either 18 or 16 gauge on our vintage sewing machines. And that type of wiring is able to handle an amperage much higher than the motor. Usually right around 3 to 4 amps is where you're looking at when you're looking at the 16 or 18 gauge wire. And again, on gauge wiring, if you don't know this, let's say you go to your Home Depot and you want to try to rewire your own foot controller, that's cool. That's totally cool. But make sure you tell that electrician or that helper that's in that electronic area in Home Depot, what are you working with? Are you working with a newer Singer that has a 0.7 amp motor, or are you working with a bigger machine like this FOF that has a 1.3 amp motor on the back of it that could peak at 1.4 amps or maybe even a little bit higher than that? Because that might help that person to decide whether they point you towards the 18 gauge, which would probably still work fine, or the 16 gauge. As you're dealing with wiring gauges, the lower the number, the heavier that gauging is on the wire and the heavier of a load that it can handle. I'll say that again. When you're looking at wire gauges, let's say that this wire right here. Let's say that this wire right here is 16 gauge. This is going to handle about 5 amps of energy running through it. So it's going to allow a gateway of energy that will far exceed what this foot controller can handle, even more than what the motor can handle. But again, the rheostat that is built into these foot controllers is going to regulate how much of that energy can flow out to the motor. But again, if you're concerned about being able to handle a heavier load and deal with peak performance from that motor, so you're not retarding that motor in any way, you're not holding that motor back, then you could always elect to go with 16 gauge wiring instead of 18 gauge, because then you're looking at a peak top performance of well above what that motor or anything else would demand. It's going to be right around 5 to 7 amps. 18 gauge is going to cover you to about 3 amps. So that's still more than enough for wiring pretty much any sewing machine until you get into the light industrial and you're dealing with those servo motors. You know, those big servo motors that are usually mounted to the table? Some of those servo motors can be 10 amps or more, even depending on how they're set up. So if you ever get a light industrial machine and you've got a servo motor involved, then you've got to change your thinking on the wiring. 18 or 16 gauge. 16 gauge would probably be okay, but you might even want to look at 14 gauge if you're looking at rewiring a machine that's set up with a big servo motor that's part of a light industrial table. I'm sure you've seen them before. Those are very, very high energy consumers, and you've definitely got to take into account that if you're going to do rewiring or replace wiring on the motor or the setup of that machine. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful. The long and short of it is this is not going to work. This is not going to work. This would work great for a featherweight. This would work great for a class 66. This would work great for, even a 1591 or a 201-2, but it's not going to work for this FOF 320, this FOF 230. It's not going to work. Yeah. I'll have to watch. Oh, Jan has to run. Jan, great having you here. Great having you here. And I get it. Yeah, I get it. We've been running an hour and 20 minutes already for this unboxing. And I'm wondering if that person that was in the live chat and probably had to bow out was asking if I could take off the top of these machines so you can look at the mechanics. Why don't we do that? And we're not going to, sometimes when I get a machine into the workshop, you guys know this, at an unboxing, I'll plug it in. And we'll test it out a little bit. But because we know already that this foot controller is not safe to be operating with this machine, we're not going to do that today. So what I'll do in lieu of that is I'll take the covers off of these because I want you to see, there's a lot of people that get excited over the 332s, like the one that I prepared for Heidi that went to Switzerland, or they'll get excited about the 130s or the 130-6 with that embroidery kit on the back of it. But these 230s that came out in the mid to late 1950s are really impressive from a heavy duty standpoint when it comes to the way they're set up inside. And we'll take a look at that right now. And the way this cover comes off, if you didn't know it, there's no bolts to take out. There's no screws to pull out. You just give it a little wiggle and it comes off straight away, just like that. Same thing with this black one. Give it a little bit of a wiggle
and that comes off straight away. Oh, this is interesting. And this is where, when you're talking about a particular model, they change certain things about them over time as that machine is evolving and continuing to be manufactured. And you'll notice something different about Mary's compared to this one. This one has a pulley that would accommodate twin cleated belts, but it only has one cleated belt on it, and that's by design. So this is my FOF 230. You can see it's just about wide enough to have another cleated belt on there potentially, but mine has a single cleated belt. But you'll notice that the cleats are doubled. See that? The cleats, are we in the right spot? There we are. Now we are. The cleats are, I had the camera angled wrong and you're going, we're not seeing anything, Scott. This one has like a double overlay cleated design for that belt. And this belt is going to serve as the timing belt for the machine. Whereas if you look at Mary's has a double side-by-side cleated belt design to power that machine. Actually, two belts. So is one better than the other? Not necessarily. It's not more is better. These cleated belt designs on this one are a little bit older style, and they don't have that double overlay like this one. See how it's a double overlay cleated belt? So FOF decided we're going to go with this design because it's probably a little bit cheaper than having two belts with independent cleats on them on this pulley design. So that's what they did. But the other features of the machine are going to be very close. These right here, this little stack right here, you can see with these tiny little screws right there and there and there. This is going to be your fine tuner. And when you're adjusting a machine like this to get that decorative output potentially from the machine, you've got to adjust these little fingers so that they're interacting with the cam stack and telling that cam stack what to do. And you'll see here, and some of these FOFs will come with 3 of these, some with 4, some with 5. This particular one has 4. Similar to mine right here is also going to have 4. But again, the design has changed a little bit, hasn't it? It's changed just a little bit. But you got to love the oiling points on these FOF machines. They darken them with red. So there's no question at all as to what you should concentrate on in trying to maintain the basic maintenance of that machine. Now, I'll tell you one other thing real quick, just a quick little tip on the FOF machines, and it's true of the 130s, the 230s, the 332s, is there's a critical oiling point right underneath this bobbin winding assembly that lubricates the shaft coming off of the balance wheel that feeds into the main shaft and goes all the way across the machine. And you can't get to it unless you push this bobbin winding assembly back. What I usually do when I'm servicing the machine, because I want to clean this as well and get the varnishing off, is I'll take this assembly off. And there's only one bolt that holds it in place right there. So you take this bolt out, you can take that whole assembly out, and then you can easily get to that oiling point that's almost right underneath the bobbin winding tire. But you don't see it unless you kind of push it back. I think that was probably, I don't know why they did it that way. I mean, it is what it is, but probably because they had to have this close enough in proximity that when you engage it to wind a bobbin, that it's going to be, centered on that balance wheel to engage the inner rim of it, that sort of thing. Similar here. Obviously, mine's quite a bit cleaner if you look at this one as far as the cleanliness and the buildup of it, and also the condition of the bobbin winding tire as well. This is a little bit of a contrast. This is kind of like the before, and then once I'm done with Mary's machine, it'll look more like this from a cleanliness standpoint. Yeah, but the overall design, the controls on it are going to be similar as you're setting the stitch output of the machine. And on my YouTube channel, on Cow Country YouTube channel, I do have some videos where I have still shots showing the settings for the 230s and a variety of other FOF machines. So if you want to look that up, you can get basically the stitch card output for a machine like this, even if you don't have the stitch card, which could be real helpful in enjoying the machine more fully. All right, I'm going to wrap up the Premiere because we're not again going to test this machine because the foot controller is not safe for it. But you can see the overall design features of these machines are going to be very similar, even though they're from different periods. This is going to be a later period than this one. And they're both fabulous machines, especially once they're running at the top of their game. Yeah. So there you go. I will wrap this up. And I think Jan was the last one that wrote a comment. So if anyone else doesn't have any immediate questions about this unboxing that we did today, then I will go ahead and end the live stream in just a little bit. And if you are wanting to chat with someone, or if you're wanting to chat, the chat stays active for a limited period of time after the live stream is ended. So, you still feel like you can post something in the live chat. And I think I set this up with replay on the live chat. So even Jan, who had to leave, will be able to go back and see what we talked about in the live chat after this live stream ends, and she watches this later on the channel. So there you go. All right, I'll put a little bit of music on. Thanks again for joining. I know that Thursdays can be as busy as any day of the week. And I know you have to kind of set that time aside to join a live stream like this. And I don't announce these things in advance, so they just kind of pop up. But have a great rest of your Thursday. And again, watch later tonight where I'm going to hope to do a live stream for that featherweight that I just finished. And if I were to show you, you would see that the featherweight has this foot controller, which is totally great for that machine, because we're only talking about does anyone know what size the motor is on the featherweight? I'll just hit you guys with one more quick question as Joel and others are saying their goodbyes and we're wrapping this up. Oh, and hello to Eddie too. I didn't say hello to Eddie yet. Hello to Eddie. Anyone know the size of the motor on the featherweight? Anyone at all? Okay, I'll give you a huge hint. The featherweight motor is about a third the size of the motor that is on these FOF machines here. It's about a third the size. Eddie is saying 0.5 amps. You're really close, Eddie. You're real close. Take away a tenth of an amp and you'll be spot on. Take away a tenth of an amp and you'll be spot on as far as the featherweight motor. And this is true of the featherweight motor on the 221, 221-1, the 222K. Well, unless the 222K coming out of the European marketplace, then it is not going to have a 0.4 amp motor. Does anyone know what size motor? I'm hitting you guys with all kinds of questions, and we're supposed to be wrapping this up. What the heck? Emma is saying, is that 0.49? Take away 0.9 and you'll be spot on. The featherweight motor is 0.4 amps unless it's coming from the European marketplace. Let me see if I can find a European featherweight motor real quick. Real quick. See if I can find it. Nope, I got it tucked away somewhere. But what you're going to find if you ever, let's say you were on eBay and you bought a featherweight and it's coming from out in the neck of the woods by Alex Askarov and coming from the UK and England or something like that. When you get that featherweight, you're going to be surprised because that motor will not be rated at 0.4 amps. It's going to be rated right around 0.2 amps. Because of the difference, the trade-off when you're looking at motors going from one market to another where the voltage changes, if they're going to have a comparable motor output, they're going to lower the amperage because the voltage offsets that difference. So where in the UK, you'll see a featherweight that has a 0.2 amp motor, but it's operating at 230 to 250 volts,
and it's going to be putting out the same amount of power as our featherweight that has a 0.4 amp motor being powered by 110 to 125 volts. So the trade-off, just understand that the trade-off is the higher the voltage, the lower the amps can be getting the same power output from that motor. Hopefully that makes sense. I think it does. So yeah, 240 volts, exactly. And for a while, they were trying to standardize the voltage in the European marketplace where everyone would be using 230 volts, everyone. But countries get in, they get into that comfort zone of always operating at a certain voltage. And plus, there's cost involved, obviously, in updating something like that. So when you go across Europe, you'll still see countries operating at different voltages, some of them operating at as high of a voltage as 250. And a lot of the motors are set up, the European motors that were made by different manufacturers for sewing machines were set up with a voltage tolerance. You'll see that on the back of the motor where it says 230 250 or 220 240, something like that. So they take that into account so that that motor isn't damaged if that European owner of that machine moves to a different spot where the voltage is a little bit different. So, yeah, hopefully that's helpful. So, at any rate, thank you again to Mary from the great state of Alabama for sending this beautiful ebony colored FOF 230 to the workshop. I'm really excited to, it's not going to hit the workshop anytime soon, but hopefully, eventually, I'll have the opportunity to get this on the workbench and start to get it, back up to snuff and working well. And then also find an appropriate foot controller that will support that motor properly. So that's it, you guys. Unless you have some questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and crank on some music. And you guys can chat for a little bit, post more questions, whatever. And have a great rest of your Thursday. Again, look later tonight for a potential live stream on Julie's featherweight. And I've got some progress photos that I'll show you because it really went through a transformation mechanically, electrically, and aesthetically. It'll be a fun machine to show you the before and after. It's dramatic. It's dramatic. All right. Blah, 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 blah. Haven't done this for a long time. Class is dismissed. God bless you guys and have a great rest of your Thursday. And hopefully we have a chance to see each other later today at that other live stream premiere. All right. Take care. All right, let's get some music on. Oh, I'm knock over the camera here. Holy mackerel. Plus, I get to play a little bit of harmonica. That's fun. All right, you take it over now. I'll let my other harmonica player. Herr Obermeister, did you end the live stream? You didn't? Oh, we're still running that. Okay. All right, ending the live stream now. Yeah, if I go away, yeah, just you want to hit the button? Okay, hold on. I get it because it's a German machine and you want okay. All right, so Herr Obermeister is going to end the live stream. Yeah. Take care, everybody. All right, hit it one more time. Hit it one more time. Beautiful.